Welcome to the Lawyer, Money and You. I'm Roberta Saphire, an attorney in Sharon, Massachusetts.
And I'm Camille Barron, a healthcare advisor and financial organizer, also in Sharon, Massachusetts. And we're very fortunate today to have someone here who is going to try to help us sort out all the things that homeowners insurance covers and doesn't cover, and how people can be less confused about it all.
Right, and even though he's been in Sharon, Massachusetts for 45 years, he's also has licenses in other states, which I find even more impressive. But welcome, Jim Popkin.
Thank you.
What a great name.
Thank you very much.
Okay, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have been a Sharon resident for almost over 40 years, and I have been a public adjuster for almost as long. I started working for insurance companies in 1974, so I got a good education on insurance, and after that I went to work for two of the largest public adjusting firms in the world, one out of New York, which handled massive claims, and I used to fly all over the country handling adjusting claims for that public adjuster. And I have had my own company since 1978, and I've been ongoing and still going strong after 40 years.
Congratulations.
Maybe that's because you got all your hair.
Yeah, I do.
Tell us the difference between a public adjuster and an independent adjuster.
Independent adjuster works for many different insurance companies. There's actually three types of adjusters. Independent, who works for many different insurance companies, a staff adjuster who works for one insurance company, and then as a public adjuster, I represent the policy holder against the insurance company. So I'm working as an advocate for the policy holder, and my job is to negotiate with the insurance company the highest possible settlement on their behalf. I appraise damages. I am brought in to review insurance policies and leases and other contracts, and I seek the highest possible award strictly under the terms and conditions of the insurance policy.
So is it safe to say that most likely in most cases you're going to be at odds with the independent or the staff adjuster?
No, we're not at odds. We have a mutually beneficial working relationship. So I know most of the adjusters. We've worked together for many years, and so the vast majority of them are people that we have a mutual respect for each other. I know what they need, and they know what I need, and which ultimately helps the policy holder get the best possible results.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. Now, why would a policy holder choose to work with a public adjuster? Let's say their first inclination would be to make a claim to their insurance company.
Correct.
And whether they have staff adjusters or they outsource it to independent adjusters. Is it usually after that, maybe that they weren't 100% satisfied with it, that they go to a public adjuster?
They do both. The vast majority of times, I prefer getting involved right from the beginning. And people hire me versus going directly with an insurance company is because they're getting the best possible result out of their insurance policy. You know, there's an old saying that you can't serve two masters in this world. And an adjuster working for the insurance company, although they want to be fair, they still have certain requirements and limitations for their client, the insurance company. So I value things and look at losses completely differently than insurance companies. The insurance company adjuster, although he may be very reasonable, I end up probably getting at least 30 to 50% more for the client than the insurance company would actually pay.
Because the insurance company adjuster his main thing is the insurance company.
Correct.
In the end. So he has to do, if he has a choice between who he does the better job for, it's the insurance company. Whereas the individual, that's you, because you don't that's the one you have to. What about the insurance agent? How does that different?
Agents don't adjust claims. Agents write policies, and they, even though they are working for the insurance company, they normally do not get involved with the vast majority of agents do not get involved with the insurance claims process. They completely leave that up to the adjuster from the insurance company, and really they're at the will and whim of the adjuster. And really today it's progressed to the point where the adjuster has, for the insurance companies, are very limited, and the claims process is really truly dictated by the insurance company, and they are a little more stringent when it comes to claims and procedures.
So should John Q. Public notify his agency first, or they go direct to the insurance company, or you, and then you will notify the insurance company? How does that work?
Both ways. Policy requires immediate notification, so the individual is, under the terms and conditions, is required to notify either his agent, who is has a direct affiliation with the insurance company, and or they can call the insurance company directly, or a lot of times my clients will call me and I'll report it to the insurance company.
So let's talk about some of the things that are happening today, and particularly the weather. Every day that we turn on the news, there's some sort of a weather event going on,
Yes.
and whether it be hurricanes or just severe storms, wind, and
Lightning.
a lot of the claims nowadays are water related,
Oh.
and a lot of people are very confused whether something is or is not covered. Can you help us sort that out a little bit for our viewers?
Sure. And you are right. The insurance companies write the policies, and they do it. It's what's called a unilateral policy. They write it, but the homeowner is supposed to get the most benefit by the interpretation of the policy. Today, the weather conditions today are just unbelievable. Last March and April, we had all those nor'easters with extremely heavy wind damage. The largest one I had this year was to a rock star's home, which I can't say who it is, but he had over $2 million in damages.
Oh,
Wow.
And the insurance company was one of the best, and they came out, evaluated the damages. I evaluated the damages, and we came and agreed on a settlement, and everybody was happy.
Oh, good.
But massive water damage claims, windstorm damage claims, lightning claims. I had a client in Sharon that his house burnt down to the ground virtually from a lightning strike back 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, with the water damage, let's take that example that you
Sure.
gave. Was it covered? The type of water damage, was it covered?
Yes.
Can you kind of distinguish between things that are covered in terms of water damage and what is not?
Sure. Groundwater, 99.9% of the policies, if rain hits the ground or snow melts on the ground, it's not covered at all.
Unless you have flood insurance?
Possibly. There's a lot of restrictions. Flood is a very unique program. It's not an insurance company. It's run by the government, and you have to have a general inundation of the area in order for flood to cover.
Yeah.
So if you're not in a flood zone, you can't get flood insurance.
I see.
But one of the things, most homeowners policies distinguish the structure, which is usually covered under coverage A, which is building, and coverage B is appurtenant structures, and coverage C is personal property, and coverage D is additional living expenses.
Well, what's
or
a
time-
pertinent structures, like your
Garage,
shed?
pool.
Oh, pool.
So, but the house, the structure on the homeowner policy is covered on what's called an all-risk basis. So it says we will assume all damages for physical damages to the structure. But in virtually anything can happen unless it's excluded. And there are a number of exclusions within the policy that could apply. Water damage is restricted on a homeowner's policy for personal property. You first have to have exterior wind damage in order for there to be coverage for personal property inside the house. So let's say water seeped through a wall and damaged your drapes. Drapes wouldn't be covered because they're considered personal property, because you first have to have a break or wind damage to the exterior. Then if you have the damage to the exterior, then anything inside would be covered by water.
Yes.
But I mean, I've had a large number of claims where there's no break in the roof or windows aren't broken, and you get seepage. Sofas, very expensive sofas, would not be covered. Now, in contrast, if you had
So
like
there has to be
wallpaper,
an opening?
you have to have damage to the roof or siding first, and then you would be covered with personal property
Water.
for water.
If it's
But if you
wind-driven.
had a pipe break in the house, the structure would be covered and personal property. See, personal property is covered for what's known as named peril. They have 20 or 25 specific perils that they give you as part of the homeowner policy. Rain damage is not covered. Windstorm damage is covered. Pipe breaks are covered.
Pipe break. Any kind of pipe break?
Yes.
So folks, go around and break that pipe if you have to.
No, don't do that.
No, don't do that.
No, that's
Just kidding.
yeah. But I mean, I've had plenty of clients through the years that if they have seepage, like we were talking before, it's not covered. So water from the ground.
Now, let's look at some of the hurricanes that have taken place on the East Coast, Southeast Coast. All the floods, they show the pictures of
Yeah.
the streets are all flooded,
Right.
homes are, how does that work?
Well, you know, the South is very unique. Some of these states that are very at high risk for damages have to have a special insurance for windstorm or we don't have that here really in Massachusetts. What they've done in the insurance policies here, they have very high what's called wind deductibles, which could be a percentage of your coverage. So it could be tens of thousands of dollars. But down in, like, I've adjusted claims in Florida and what's going on in Atlanta, not Atlanta, but South Carolina and North Carolina, they have, flood is not covered unless you have a flood policy, obviously. But they have to have a separate windstorm policy, and it usually has a very high deductible. But
Okay.
you have to understand that insurance was meant to cover the few who have the losses by the many who are paying for it.
Yeah,
So that's a general concept of insurance.
okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like no matter what, you have to have an adjuster who can be guiding you into what is or is not going to be covered.
Absolutely. The claims process is very tenuous. It's time consuming. It's a losing proposition unless you know what to claim. There's an old saying, if you don't ask, you don't get. If you don't know how to ask, then you're seriously not going to get. See, I've developed my claims process over 40 years being in business. I have adjusted probably in excess of 25,000 claims in my career, both for the insurance companies and for the public. So, and I represented some very high-profile people, and they come to me for my expertise in public adjusting to represent their interest and to get the highest possible settlement for them.
Have you ever had any that, you must have had some that really, really stick out, that you say, you've got to be kidding on this one?
Well, yeah, I
You can
I
share?
represented Chris Ford when he was coach of the Celtics, and he had this was back about 25 years ago, and he had a 2,000-gallon oil tank buried in his front yard. The oil company came in and went to the wrong fill pipe, and they filled 2,000 gallons directly into his basement.
Ooh.
and hit national news. And so I was referred to him, and I came out and represented him. And his house was a near total loss. They ended up having to lift his house up on stilts,
Oh my
take out his
God.
entire basement, dig
boy.
down 8 feet till they underneath his slab
Oh.
to get to clean soil. He lost his entire backyard with a basketball court in his backyard. And then the insurance company at the time came in and said, "Oh, we're not going to pay you because oil is a hazardous waste,
Yeah.
and we're not going to pay." But I convinced them at the time that which was very unique. The concept was that an oil delivery truck came and delivered the oil. Therefore, it was vehicle damages covered by the insurance policy, and they finally agreed to pay the claim. That
Under
was-
his auto policy?
no, under the vehicle policy for the oil delivery company. Not his homeowners, not his
No, I
automobile.
meant for the auto policy of the
No,
oil
his,
company.
yeah, but see, under the homeowner policy, it's all risk unless it's excluded.
Oh.
So hazardous waste was excluded, but vehicle damage was not.
Oh,
So,
it's from the vehicle. Boy, that's
yeah,
that's
it was
pretty
creative on my part.
very
sounds like it.
creative.
Remember when Andy Nebenzahl was on, and he told us about the, if there's snow and ice
Oh, yeah, the snow
on a
and
premises, and the owner, and he was talking more about commercial property, but he said if the owner sort of, they plow and they clean it up, and then maybe over the next couple of days it gets a little icy and somebody slips and falls on it, the owner could be held liable, when in fact, if the owner did nothing, it was left as nature deposited
Yeah.
it, that the owner wouldn't necessarily be liable.
Except then
I-
I think the law changed.
Did it?
That you, as the owner, you have to be careful to keep it clear.
See,
no
I don't
matter what.
adjust liability claims, so I don't get involved with that at all.
So if somebody lets their dog, what if somebody let their dog loose and the dog trampled over everything and somehow or other it caused severe damage to a house? I'm sure something like that has happened.
Animals
You
aren't
don't do
covered.
that. Animals aren't
No,
covered?
domestic or otherwise, not covered.
Really? So what was somebody's home policy? Wouldn't that cover them?
Again, I don't get involved with
Oh.
liability, but if the homeowner was negligent in some way, the insurance company would be obligated to defend them and possibly pay for the damages if it was a direct result of negligence on the homeowner. But that's not my expertise.
Now,
Right,
let's talk about another thing that is related to water, but mold damage.
Oh, yeah, the mold.
Can you tell us all about mold damage?
Well, I'm not certified for mold, but I know.
Oh, there's such a thing as certification for mold?
Yes, yep, there is. What I do when there's mold involved, I immediately call up a service master or a Serv Pro or any professional restoration that has certification in mold. They come in, they do their testing. If it's confirmed that there is mold, we'll bring in what's called an air quality hygienist, and he'll come in and do testing, either swipe testing, air quality testing, to determine if there's mold. And then what they do is they create a protocol as to how they feel mold has to be remediated. So the restoration company, a Service Master or ServPro, they will come in and follow the protocol to get rid of, and what they call chase the mold. So if they have to open up this wall to see if there's mold, and then if they have to open up this wall, so they'll keep going until they find clean area and no mold. And then it's a process of trial and error,
And that-
opening
that-
up and searching and
Right, that can be devastating because you can have a place of business where there's mold in a certain section.
mold by itself is excluded under vast majority of insurance policies.
Yeah.
If you have water damage first, that could trigger mold coverage. And most of the mold coverages under homeowner policies and commercial policies are limited.
Now, does the water damage that caused it have to be covered water damage?
Yes, it
Okay.
does.
So the things that we talked about before, like seepage from groundwater,
Not covered.
If it causes mold, too bad,
Yeah,
right?
not covered.
What
Okay.
about the big snowstorms? Like I know other parts of the country don't have snow. They might have sandstorms or this or that.
You have
But-
earthquakes.
Oh yeah, and the earthquakes. Well, what about like in the Northeast where you have an inordinate amount of snow and then boom, you know, it caves in.
Yes.
Now, are the people required to do like get the snow off the roof before their insurance kicks in, or do they have to show that they used care, or
Yes.
what's the story on that?
Well, back in 2015, we had I think it was over 100 inches of snow. And I actually adjusted 4 buildings that collapsed as a result of weight of ice and snow, which is covered.
Oh, it
I
is
did.
covered.
I did 2 homeowners in Sharon where the houses actually pancaked from the snow. As long as you take reasonable care, you know, they don't expect people to go beyond their means to try and get snow off the roof. You have to protect your property.
They have ice rakes now that are
Right, you have ice
sailed
rakes,
up
or you hire
lane.
somebody.
Yeah.
But the biggest, one of the biggest problems we had in 2015 was ice damming. And what
Oh,
that
yeah.
is when there's massive amounts of snow on the roof and you have a disproportionate amount of melting, the water can find its way into underneath the roof, and into the house.
And that's covered?
That's the structure is covered. Remember I
Oh,
told you before?
structure.
The structure's
Yeah.
covered, but contents are not, because that's considered seepage.
What if you had brand new hardwood floors? Is that
That would
part
be
of the
covered.
structure?
'Cause that's part of the
Part of the
structure.
structure. Wallpaper, carpeting, hardwood floors, or anything like that. Anything that's attached, considered a building-related
Really?
item.
How about this question? You say you have a structure that's worth $400,000, and the insurance company says, well, we're going to insure it for $600,000 because we got to go not by what the value is,
Right.
but what it would cost if you had to tear it down and build it all over again. Of course, the land is worth something too. So you say, well, I don't want it for $600. I just want it for $400. What happens in a case like that?
Well, the issue is, it depends on how they've evaluated, how they've come up with that $600,000. You're not insuring the market value of the building or the structure. You're insuring the replacement cost, the physical cost to replace under today's, what it would take for a contractor to rebuild. Excluding the land, of course. And I've had this happen. There's an endorsement called guaranteed replacement cost. If you have this endorsement, guaranteed replacement cost, you are required to keep a level of insurance that the insurance company is telling you to keep, and you have to pay for it. It's an inexpensive endorsement, but let's say you only had $400,000 in coverage. And I've actually had this happen in Canton. I had a house burned down, and
Excuse me.
Bless you.
the house was valued at he had an insurance policy for $650,000. House burnt down to the ground, and the homeowner almost passed away from the fire.
Ooh.
And the insurance, I found a clause in the policy would increase he had a guaranteed replacement cost endorsement, which increased the policy to somewhere between $800,000 and $900,000. So I found an extra $400,000.
You're not kidding. You've got to be. I say you've got to be kidding back. You're not kidding. That's fascinating. And if they didn't have you, maybe they would have just not gotten it. And
It's actually a department store owner, and I've been representing the family for
Boy.
25 years.
well, they're lucky to have you.
I had
mean,
another situation, which talk about
Yeah.
interest. I had a homeowner who owns a mansion in Gloucester, and he called me up. I've been doing his work, and most of my clients stay with me. I represent them for years, but this particular gentleman, who I'm very fond of, he called me up one Friday night, and he said, "Jim," he says, "my garage is on fire." He said, "I don't think it's all that much, maybe $150,000 in damages." And I said, "Paul, do you want me up here tonight?" This was a Friday night. He said, no, come out tomorrow. So I went out there the next day, and I evaluated it. And to make a long story short, I ended up settling his claim for $1.7 million.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, from what he
Wow.
thought was $150,000.
No kidding.
So,
Boy.
yeah.
That's
And he-
amazing.
$1.7 million, and I get that a lot.
Wow. Well, I have a claim here, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, because we're right at the end.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, that went by quick, didn't it?
did. Yes, it did.
So the parents of a puppy had to leave the house for a while, so they locked the bath. They put the dog in the bathroom and stocked the bathroom tub with food, so the dog would have something. And meanwhile, they came home, and the whole apartment was flooded, and it was coming from the bathroom.
Did
As
the
it-
dog put the water on in the tub?
Well, it says here, the problem occurred when the pup leaped onto the lid of the closed toilet, because they had the toilet closed, hopped onto the sink, and not only managed to turn the water on, he also kicked in the sink stopper.
Oh.
So I wonder if that kind of water damage was covered.
You know,
It said here,
It's like whose
the
dog was it?
the
Is
property
that right?
owner's insurance policy did not cover flooding from rainwater or other sources.
right.
But sudden and accidental damage caused by a pet was not excluded. So
That's-
therefore it was covered.
Did they
That's
say you got
correct.
to be kidding? Well,
Yeah, gotta
Yeah.
be kidding.
that's
Well,
that's
the
funny.
the water from the tub, they left on mistakenly, and that flooded, and that's covered. So insurance is designed really to protect you against your own. I hate to use the term stupidity, but
Right.
it is. It's
Yeah.
designed to protect you against things that do happen.
Yeah, right. It's true.
That's just like we landed on the old joke of somebody comes to the door and this dog is like wants to bite them, and the guy's holding it back, and the guy says, "Does your dog bite?" And they go, "No, no." And then all of a sudden the dog lunges and bites them, and he says, "I thought your dog didn't bite." And he says, "Mine doesn't. This one's not mine."
All right, now let's.
Yeah, so this is a wrap.
Okay, this is a
Yes,
wrap.
a
yes.
wrap.
So thank you very much, Jim.
Yes.
It's very enlightening, and I'm sure this only
Yes.
is the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I want to encourage our viewers, if you have
Yeah.
questions about homeowners coverage, please let us know, and we'll make sure that Jim gets the
Yeah,
question.
he's in all these other states, so it's not just Massachusetts.
No, it's not just Massachusetts, and obviously he's very experienced and very knowledgeable.
Right.
I've actually been pretty much all over the country handling losses.
Boy.
It's amazing, and you really
Yeah.
need to have this type of care
Knowledge.
and
Yeah,
knowledge.
knowledge, yeah.
So again, thank you,
Yes,
and
thank
to our
you.
viewers, we thank you for watching us today. We encourage you to let us know if you have questions, or let us know if you have any other topics that you would like to see covered in one of our episodes.
Don't
Because
forget
remember,
police
yes,
officers are our friends.
yes,
Now you
police
can say it,
officers are our
sorry.
friends.
Yeah, okay, remember.
Because remember, this is your show. The law, your money,
And you.